Hello everyone, I am Dipanshu Singh, a faculty at NextIS, and I welcome you all to a special discussion with the civil services toppers this year. So before we begin today's discussion, I want to quote former British PM Margaret Thatcher that when you want to say something, ask a man, and when you want something to be done, ask a woman. So today in our NextIS studio, we have two women super achievers with us. We have Garima Agarwal, who has secured All India rank 241 this year in the civil services examination, and we also have with us in our studio Pooja Ranawat, who has secured rank 258 in the civil services examination this year. So just want to give you a brief background about both of them. So Garima is from a place, one of the remotest place in India, probably Khargone in MP, and it's probably one of the most rural areas in India. And she's I guess only the second candidate from that region to clear civil services examination. From a background, she's an engineer, and she did her engineering from IIIT Hyderabad, which is one of the premier institutes in India and probably in the world as well. And then she went on to do her masters in robotics. So coming from a very diverse background. And then we have on the other hand with us Pooja, who is from an arts background, and she has done her BA in psychology and then her masters in political science from Ferguson College, Pune. So today's discussion, will be a balanced sort of discussion because we have one engineer with us also, and we have one person coming from the arts background. So first I'll start off with Garima. So Garima, coming from an engineering background from such a premier institute in India, you must have got multiple offers. You did masters in robotics as well. What basically motivated you to come and for civil services?
First of all, thank you. Yes, coming from an engineering background does make the decision difficult because you have to give up lucrative job offers, PhD offers in my case, to come here. One of the honest reasons was that best of the opportunities that I was getting in my field, robotics, was abroad, and I was very clear that I didn't want to settle abroad. I wanted to serve the country. And if you stay in India and you want to work, I think civil services provides you the kind of platform which is most diverse and has the ability to impact the most number of people. And as you just mentioned initially, that the kind of background that I come from, Khargone, such a tribal district, I always had this motivation to specifically work for women, tribals, and I think my background in engineering will in one or other way help me in civil services.
Okay, right. So Pooja, what was your motivation coming to the civil services? Because आपने वैसे तो BA psychology में किया and then chose political science. So was there any particular inspiration at home or somebody you saw outside as an inspiration?
Actually, one of the major reasons why I opted for civil services altogether was my dad.
Okay.
My father's dream was that I should get into civil services.
All right.
And my reason for opting humanities in itself was that somewhere in the future I wanted to work in the social sector.
Okay.
And I tried bringing these two things together. And I thought that civil services offers me the best platform where I could use my abilities to make a difference in lives of others.
All right. So Garima, when I was interacting with you before this discussion, it was very interesting to know that she has done all her schooling in Hindi medium background, and then she did a graduation in English medium and then wrote UPSC exam in English medium. तो ये बहुत सारे हिंदी माध्यम के छात्रों का ये बहुत बड़ा एक प्रश्न रहता है कि हम लोग हिंदी मीडियम से पढ़े हैं, क्या एक ये डिफिकल्टी है बहुत बड़ी, या क्या हिंड्रेंस है, या एक तरीके से आप कह सकते हो आपकी एक रोड ब्लॉक है फॉर क्लियरिंग सिविल सर्विसेज. तो आई गेस बेस्ट पर्सन गरिमा है यहाँ पे, बिकॉज हिंदी मीडियम से पढ़ने के बावजूद टिल क्लास 12th उनकी मतलब बात करने के तरीके से यू कैन नॉट जज और यू कैन नॉट आइडेंटिफाई दैट शी इज फ्रॉम अ हिंदी मीडियम बैकग्राउंड. सो गरिमा, हाउ डिड यू मैनेज दिस होल थिंग? क्योंकि एक तो बुक्स भी अवेलेबल नहीं होती हैं हिंदी मीडियम की, एक तो सबसे बड़ा कंस्ट्रेंट वो है. सो हाउ डिड यू मैनेज प्रिपरेशन कमिंग फ्रॉम हिंदी मीडियम बैकग्राउंड एंड देन इंग्लिश में जब स्विच करा? हाउ डिफिकल्ट द ट्रांजिशन वाज?
Right. So I do think it is a bit challenging, but I think it was more challenging initially when I was in college. And because engineering was in English,
Right.
and I did it from a South Indian college, so I think I pretty much worked upon my English when I was in college. And then I went for a youth exchange program in US after my 10th. So that exposure also helped me a little. And UPSC examination, because I wrote the medium English, so the books and sources was not a challenge for me. However, little bit challenges in a way that I did not do my bio after 10th when I had to do it for prelims. I did not know that something what we call as Randhr is known as Tomato, and I had to face that difficulty every time. So if a normal candidate took 1 hour to finish a chapter in bio, I took 2 hours. But ultimately, I don't think it's a big hindrance. It's ultimately a medium of expression. And if you constantly work upon your newspapers and books and TV shows, it helps you to pick up.
Alright. So Pooja, interesting thing about you is that कि आपका ये fifth attempt था and she could not clear prelims in last 4 attempts. So coming to this stage, you know, so much of pressure and so much of anxiety and एक performance pressure रहता है कि 4 attempts से कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, इस बार होगा कि नहीं होगा. So how did you manage and you know pull yourself together कि ये attempt में what particular things you did in this attempt that worked for you?
I think the major changes that I tried to bring in this attempt was one to do with strategy, to have a very clear-headed strategy, and second would be consistent hard work. Many a times we start off with a certain subject and we end up wasting a lot of time doing just that one subject, and then the next subject we need a big break in between.
Right.
So although you are sincere, sincerity is a necessary but not a sufficient condition. It has to be combined with your strategy, with solving enough number of papers, with doing a lot of answer writing practice, and at the same time having a kind of mental toughness where you know how to be measured, you know how to be precise in your approach. I think these were the changes, and needless to mention, I had immense support from my parents, peers, my teachers. I had a good set of friends always motivating me, and I think all of this has brought me here.
So I guess the key takeaway over here from her is that एक तो सबसे important चीज आपको रखनी that you should have good set of people around you, क्योंकि ये बहुत बड़ा एक hindrance होता है when you have negative people around you. ठीक है, वो बार बार demotivate करने की कोशिश करेंगे आपको. ठीक है, especially relatives. ठीक है, वो आपसे पूछते रहेंगे क्या कर रहे हो क्या नहीं कर रहे हो. So अगर ऐसी कोई situation आप भी face कर रहे हैं तो probably you can take an inspiration from Pooja. So गरिमा से बात करते हैं because गरिमा बाहर MS करने गई थी and India में है. So गरिमा आपका optional was philosophy.
Yes.
So from an engineering background आप ECB वैसे तो नहीं available होता but you could have opted for electrical engineering probably. So why not an engineering optional and philosophy kind of optional इस बार choose किया आपने for examination?
Yes, so philosophy was one of the optionals I was considering. We have to do certain humanities electives as an engineering student, you might be knowing yourself. So one of the courses I had done in college was Gandhian Thought, and my professor Nand Kishore Acharya taught it really well, and from there I grew my interest in Gandhian philosophy and philosophy in general. And yes, EC is not an available optional in UPSC, and I'm not very good at electrical science.
Okay.
And then C would be the normal considerations, amount of syllabus, score, how it's been doing in UPSC, whether it interests me or not. Based on all these factors, I think I took this decision.
Okay, so Pooja, क्योंकि आपने जो है psychology में BA किया, which is a good optional considering आपका UPSC के लिए, then you did masters in political science and JRF net भी आपने qualify किया. So why not psychology and why political science? Because ये question बहुत ज़्यादा होता है aspirants का when they are confused between two optionals. Finally they have decided. So how did you choose between political science and psychology? What were the parameters?
I also have 2-3 reasons. The first being that political science, to be honest, the syllabus had a lot in was overlapping a lot with GS syllabus. Second, I had studied political science even otherwise with psychology.
Okay.
So it was not that I was entirely new to the subject. And the third reason being that I had an interest in further going and working towards public policy and governance. So political science gave me a good inroads and insights about what the subject matter would be ahead. So I think all these three factors came together for me selecting political science.
All right. So coming to the prelims part, because prelims is nearby, Garima, any specific strategy you followed for prelims because this was your first attempt itself? So anything in particular you want to give advice to aspirants about prelims?
Yes. As far as studying for prelims is concerned, I think I gave around 4-5 dedicated months for GS.
Okay.
And that included an integrated plan of strategy, both mains and prelims together. But if we're talking about prelims in June, I think last minute strategy would be revision of everything we've done already. And solving 1 or 2 CSAT question papers, because that's also important, and previous year question papers. Because if you look at the question Jordan last year, it is actually a repeated question of UPSC.
Right.
So if you're thorough with it, you will get into the form of writing UPSC type or that standard of question papers.
Pooja, your thoughts on prelims? Any particular advice or tip for people appearing this year?
I would say last minute now is the right time not to take up any new material. Whatever you have done until now, revise it so that you are not confused on the day of the exam. And secondly, keep up a very positive attitude. Keep revising all the important points, including maps, national parks, anything related to polity, which is very basic, expected of a UPSC aspirant. And you have seen previous year's questions reflecting those areas. So I think focusing on that would do good.
Okay, so Garima, I think probably by your rank you'll be getting into IPS, and while I was interacting with her, I came to know and understand that she's raring to go to be an IPS officer. So, any particular tip for women out there who are watching you, because a lot of them don't opt for IPS. So, any particular advice or why you want to be an IPS officer probably?
Yes, I think service preference is a very personal choice, so I will not really give a tip to other candidates. But I can say my own reason that I genuinely believe that representation of women in law and order and police will go a long way in women's security. And that is why I think that was one of the biggest reasons I thought I should join the IPS. And that's why it was my second preference.
Okay, Pooja, you joined the mock test for interview at Next IS. So because this was your first time, like mains was also the first time, and the interview was also the first time. So what benefits did you actually you feel particularly that when you joined the Next IS interview guidance program?
I really liked the professional setup that was provided to us, because it was a first. There were many doubts in the mind that how would I face a panel, and the panel was extremely cordial. The kind of questions that they asked me revolved around many areas. So at that point, what I needed was practice on talking about many different areas, and that was really helpful when I was at Next IAS.
Garima, your thoughts, your experience with the Next IS interview guidance program?
Yes, so the major reason I joined the interview guidance program at Next IAS was to attend the electronics and communication class.
Okay.
Because it is a major problem with the engineering candidates that we lose touch with our core subject after we take up another optional. So I think that class was very beneficial in revising all the basic and important areas of EC. And second, I think the DAF discussion I had with you only, it was pretty useful, because there we went one word by word in the DAF, and I think even 2 or 3 questions from that discussion comes into the final interview, it makes it feel worth it.
Right. So last moment, any particular tip for the aspirants? Any last tip, like if you want to sum up in one sentence something, any particular tip that you want to give to aspirants?
Work hard, nothing else works in this exam. You really have to work hard and push your boundaries. And second, as she said, that you need to have a very positive support system in form of family and friends. In my case, it was my father and mother. In fact, I requested my mom to come stay with me in Delhi for about 6 to 7 months.
Okay.
And I think clearing mains in first time was possible only because of her support for those 3-4 months. So these 2 things I think will go a long way in helping you clear the
Your
exam.
last tips for aspirants?
I'd say go for inspiration and not imitation.
Okay.
Many a times what we do is we try listening to other toppers, and we try reading through many strategies, and we try unintentionally to implicate those strategies or try adopting that. So I think this entire process is more about finding your own self, formulating your own way forward rather than copying others. So I think that is the most important thing.
Alright, so as you noticed, we had these 2 women super achievers with us in the Next IS studios, sharing their strategies, what all went through during this phase of preparation, what were their guiding light. So stay tuned for more videos from Next IS on topper strategies, and if you want any particular guidance from us, we are always available. Thank you so much.